We are going to learn how to draw using foreshortening. Whenever you're drawing something that is foreshortened, it is when you're dealing with an angle that is oblique, meaning this hand is pointing straight out at you. It is, if it's this way, it's not considered foreshortening because you're seeing kind of a face-to-face parallel relationship between the hand and you. But once something comes out at you like this, reaching out, pointing, even other parts of the body like arms, legs, anytime that's coming towards you, it is an oblique angle and it is foreshortened. And it takes some special attention and care to ensure that you are drawing it in a way that replicates the illusion. It also isn't just true of the human body. There's buildings, objects, all kinds of things behave with foreshortened angles. So one thing that people do a lot of the time, and they sort of make a mistake with, is they let the symbolic part of their brain take over. And what they do is they often say, oh my goodness, there's a finger pointing at me, I need to draw that finger first. And so they start drawing the finger, and they think of how long the finger is. But then, when they start trying to draw the other parts of the hand, things start overlapping, crowding takes place, and it just doesn't look quite right. There's something about this that just doesn't seem quite like what it is I'm looking at. There's something wrong with where that finger begins and ends, because it's coming out at me. It isn't like this. When it's like this, it has a very different angle. So now I'm going to show you how to do that correctly. The first thing that you want to do, and I'm just going to adjust the thumb on this guy a little bit. Okay, the first thing you want to do is you want to get the outline of the object. Now I understand that this is not an anatomical model and it is not an actual human hand, so there's going to be some differences between yourself pointing at you and using a wooden model like this, but the overall concept is the same. So I like to map it out, but I am going to ignore the fingers. I'm going to pretend that this is a completely different object, that I'm not drawing a hand, that I am just going to tackle the outside. This is something that has come from Mars and I've never seen it before and I have to draw it. So like any other object I'd figure out, I'm going to try to figure out its outline. Very often I do that before I figure out all the little details. So I like to kind of figure out some mapping lines. Okay, so I'm just kind of finding the angles of the sides of the hands, and this is going to change a little bit, obviously, as I go on. But as I go, I am just going to kind of get some of that together. I'm going to figure out where some of these outer lines go before I even think about getting the interior, before I even figure out that interior shape. I kind of overestimated a little bit there with how long that hand was, which is fine. You can always erase it. You can always just fix it. So I kind of have, a sense of where the hand is. Now I'm going to get a little more specific. I'm going to try to find where some of these parts of the hand are jutting out. Again, I'm not dealing with the interior form yet. The most important thing about drawing something that is foreshortened is making sure that you draw the outside of it first. Now, that's not to say that there aren't other ways to do this, but using this technique, it's a little bit easier to perceive what's going on with the rest of the hand when we kind of deal with the outline first. And now I'm on the bottom part of the knuckles. I think that the mapping lines are working really well for me. However, don't be worried about moving them. Remember, drawing is always this process of calculating and recalculating, and miscalculations are part of that. You're frequently going to have to correct your drawings to make sure that they're kind of in the right spot. I'm going to put the wrist in, or the wooden part of the hand, and that's going to seem really strange, really strange, because it just seems so small in comparison to everything else I'm drawing. But that really is the wrist as it gets further away. Notice how weird that measurement is. The wrist is the width of 2 fingers, which, if we're dealing with a regular hand, it wouldn't be like that. So you've got to stop thinking about it logically, and you have to start dealing with it perceptually. Now I'm ready. Now that I've kind of done the outline, the contour around the outside, I can start figuring out the interior of this form. Think about it. If you were to draw a map of North Carolina, you wouldn't draw the rivers first. You wouldn't draw the counties or the cities. You would draw the outline of North Carolina, and then immediately you would know where Raleigh would go. Then you could draw rivers, and you could use all these littler things and do that in a relation to the outline of the state as a reference point. And that's what we have here. We have an outline, we have something to refer to. It's going to help us figure this out. So I'm going to take on some of the easier stuff first. Here to here, this relationship, it's very simple for me to kind of make sense of the hand. You know, breaking it down in this way. I'm able to, you know, get that in there pretty quickly. Oh, and I even noticed a little error, which I'm going to fix, because it's okay. My angle, if you look at that, was correct from the very beginning, and I should have trusted myself. I like to point out the mistakes that I make, just so you know that, that's part of the process. And the better you get, the more willing you are to acknowledge that you made a mistake and keep going. So now I'm going to kind of map out a little bit where some of those joints go, because I'm noticing a relationship between that and the tip of the finger. This is the hardest part of foreshortening, especially, if you're drawing a finger or something like that. This is kind of where I'm seeing the finger now. I know it seems really strange. It doesn't seem like that could possibly be right, but that is where I'm seeing it. And I'm going to trust. I'm going to do a little bit of trust here. I normally, this isn't making sense to me, but if you wait till last to do the part that's really foreshortened, sometimes it's a little bit less jarring. Sometimes I find, we naturally want to do the part that's difficult first. We want to do the part that we're afraid we can't figure out. But typically, it's going to be a lot better if you give yourself the chance to figure it out at the end when some of the easier things are figured out, because then you have a context, and then you know what's working and what's not. What I'm doing now is I'm just putting in a little bit of shading, just so you can kind of see how that affects it. I'm not going to go into lots of shading in this demo. I'm just kind of doing a bare minimum in relation to the outline of the hand, so you can get an idea. Sometimes just figuring out these other details helps me realize when I've done something correctly. A lot of these anatomical structures, if you just go ahead and draw what you're seeing, always keeping your eye. Don't forget, keep your eye on what you're drawing. If you stop looking at what you're drawing, it's going to stop looking like what you're drawing. Things will start looking imaginative. They won't look like the object. And so in this drawing, I'm acknowledging that this is actually a wooden hand. Great. And you could go from there. You could really keep going, and you could kind of figure out the shading and clean it up. But for the purposes of this demo, I hope that you feel a little bit more confident with finding the overall outline of a form that is foreshortened. You can apply basic ideas and tips for shading and resolving the form after you kind of figure out where everything is meant to go and where the lines would fit for you. I really do believe that by doing the outer outline first, then figuring out the details as they go inside, you will feel a lot better moving along with the drawing, and it does feel a lot more consistent. You are more likely to get things in the right place before moving forward. Be patient. Foreshortening is really tricky, it's really difficult, and it takes a couple of tries before you really feel like you have the hang of it. Just remember, avoid doing the symbolic representation of the hand. Avoid making things too long. You know that it's a finger, but it's going to get shorter. Good luck!